Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, criminal court, and other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com, as well as on Amazon. My books are on audio as well. The next Raised by These Wolves, Volume 3, is coming out in January. I have a brand new guest on. His name is Todd Humes. He's been driving tractor trailer for FedEx Freight for 38 years. Now, he had bought a bar back in 2019, and getting through the pandemic was challenging. However, his estranged wife was managing the bar when he noticed large amounts of money missing. She put him out on a false protection of abuse order, and this was one lie was the downfall of the fraud, theft, and many other crimes. People that are involved, as we all know, in all of our cases are lawyers, court officials, law enforcement, and financial institutions. And I welcome you, Todd Humes. You do have a tale to tell. How did all this start in the beginning?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Marianne. The bar wasn't like a lifelong dream of mine, but as you stated in the intro, that I've been driving a long time, and I just happened to have a friend that unfortunately had a medical event that put him off the road, for good, permanently. He couldn't drive anymore because he couldn't pass the physical. So, as we get older, we kind of realize, like, well, what would I do if that happened to me? And unfortunately, with my friend Jake, a very good friend, and he has since passed away. But
Mm.
you know, it kind of was like he had a lot of irons in the fire. He was a farmer. He was a gunsmith. He had owned a gun shop. He owned a butcher shop. So he had a lot of other things to go on.
Hmm.
But so I just this kind of just dumb luck. I stumbled upon this, and I'm not a drinker. I'm
Yeah.
not. But I like people. The thought of like what made me stop at that diner truck stop the whole way across the country. Good food, good service, and fair price, and nice smile. I mean,
Mhm.
we can make this work. So you know, not drawing out a long story, we you know bought. I bought the bar. I
Mhm.
didn't have anybody to help me, and I wasn't quite ready to get off the road yet. So
Right.
um, I asked my estranged wife to help me out because at the time we were friendly. I mean, we weren't like angry with each other. So, long story short, she agreed. We went in, fixed it up. I spent probably $400,000 to fix it up. So the pandemic came around, so that was very challenging. And so we got through that time. It's kind of like, hey, let's just keep working, and like we'll make this happen. We'll get through it.
Right.
So finally opened up on the 11th of December of 2020, and the
Mhm.
first 5 weeks were really good. I mean, restrictions were starting to ease. People wanted to get out. Really met
Right.
a lot of people, but I started noticing a large amounts of money that weren't making it to the bank.
Mm.
So obviously, I confronted my estranged wife.
And you had been married to her for 7 years?
Yes, yes,
And
and go ahead.
was it during that time you became estranged?
She filed for divorce.
Oh,
She
okay.
filed in 2018, and I believe the reason why she filed because she got a large sum on her back settlement that she didn't want to share with me, which is fine.
Uh-huh.
I didn't need her money, but I think that's why she did it. I also have reason to believe she had something else to drive, if you know what I mean. So,
Uh-huh.
um, so with that said,
Yeah.
uh, we the Pennsylvania law clearly states that because she wasn't working, so obviously, but I didn't. This is kind of what gets my story because you have to lay the groundwork to how evil this is because
Right.
I didn't put her out. I'd never said that you got to get out and I'm not going to give you money. She had a car, she had money, she had food, she could come in here anytime she wanted. We just didn't stay in the same room, So uh, her sons lived here, or even her ex lived here because his house burnt down.
Mm.
I mean, does that sound like a mean guy to you?
No,
No,
no.
it was her ex. I mean, his house caught on fire, burnt to the ground. It's like, hey, he don't have a place to stay. Well, he can stay here. I don't have a
Uh-huh.
problem with that. And so, about 5 weeks into the bar opening, which is Pop's Pub and Grub out of Locklandtown, Pennsylvania, if anybody wants to Google it, because it's not open right now, but
Oh.
somebody probably might know. And so I confronted her about the missing money. Of course, she got very angry. It got, a little heated. And I told her, I said, look, I said, I didn't take all this money out and give you people an opportunity of a lifetime
Mm-hmm.
to steal from me.
Oh.
No, this isn't going to go anywhere if somebody's going to steal. I mean,
Right.
I really didn't even, I was going to take my share of the profit, just put it back into the building. It was a grand building. It was like 1934, 31. It was built with
Right.
stone, gorgeous, gorgeous stonework.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow,
Mm.
that day, the argument was kind of like about 11, it started to get close to opening. So after she didn't want to give me any documentation on or any reason why these large sums of money weren't making it to the bank.
Mm.
So we just kind of, you know, just ignored each other the rest of the day. I actually tried to get out before, you could just feel tension. It's kind of like, you know what, you guys got. Matter of fact, I kind of had the attitude that day: if you're going to steal from me, why should I bust my behind? So
Right.
uh, I'm going to give you a lesson. Because I was doing dish, you name it, I do it, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people. That's what really drew me to the place. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that night, she came upstairs. We had rooms upstairs that we refurbished. So, and I went to go into my room, and she stepped in front of me, and because I didn't want any confrontation. I was kind of like, you know what, just leave me alone.
Right.
I mean, she knew that probably this isn't going to go well for her because I'm going to now. I got so she hit me like right here. And everybody,
Uh-huh.
you can see I'm a pretty broad guy. It didn't
Uh-huh.
hurt. But
Yeah.
I'll never forget this, Maryann. She looked right at me. It's like looking at the eyes of the devil.
I
And she
yeah.
said, "You hit me. I'm calling the police." I'm like, "What? You just hit me? What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, she goes downstairs. Try to make a long story short, she goes downstairs and she's called the law. So it's like, all right, go downstairs. So they show up, and tell you the truth, I have to say this before I move on. I think they were involved, the local police. You know, they were very nice. And of course, I was standing outside, and of course, they asked the obvious question: "Well, did you hit her?" I said, "Does it look like I hit her?" No, I didn't hit her.
Oh.
So what she did was this is what they did, and I complied because I wanted to keep the peace. They said, "Well, do you mind leaving?"
Mm.
So they took me down a motel. I agreed to go to the motel. They took me down. I got a room. I woke up in the morning. I called them. They came, got me again, took me up to my vehicle, and I left.
Mm-hmm.
The following Monday,
Mm.
I was fueling my truck, which I run out of Middletown, Pennsylvania, and I heard the phone ring. Of course, it could be anybody, it could be a spam call. I got in. It was the Huntington County Sheriff. Here she had put a PFA on me. So this is kind of where it gets into the court situation. The first really, um, I would say, corrupt,
Uh-huh.
or because I called the sheriff and I said, okay, I acknowledge that you sent me. Well, we really need you because I am a gun owner. I do own a lot of guns. And they said, we need you to turn in your guns. I said, okay, I'll call my boss, see if I can have off tomorrow. I ran up, I have a lot of guns. I took them all down.
Isn't that a violation
So,
of your Second Amendment rights?
well, that's kind of a gray area because of the
Mm.
fact that she claimed, and that's the problem, is there was no kind of getting into my story, the judge should have said, "Well, what evidence do you have that you're afraid of him?" Because really, it didn't. It was a bunch of gibberish. I read the complaint, and she was just like making up lies, like he threatened to chop me up in a wood chipper. It's like, really?
Ah,
I mean, I'm telling you, it's crazy. I mean, it's just, I mean, but because there's no evidence and there's no police reports other than the ones, and I was completely so cooperative. I mean, again, I wanted to keep the peace. I'm thinking that's the best way to go about this.
oh.
And so February 10th of 2021 was they gave you basically what you do. You got to hand in your guns and you can't have any contact with the person that accused you of.
Mm-hmm.
So I did everything by the law, and February 10th, I hired a lawyer. And he, of course, he asked me the obvious question, well, did you hit her? No, I didn't hit her. I mean, they would have arrested me if they thought I even hit her. I asked the police, and they said,
Mm-hmm.
if we thought you did, we would arrest you. Okay, they didn't. So we go in on February the 10th in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, Greensburg. February 10th, I go in and I'm not worried. I mean, I think anybody goes in that, that knows they didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to be, shouldn't be afraid of the justice system. You shouldn't. But
Mm-hmm.
now we know that that's not the case in a lot of cases. So
Right.
I go in and I sit down. My lawyer said he was going to be on Zoom call. All right. Okay. And he basically said, we'll have this thrown out in 15 minutes. Okay. So sitting out there for maybe 2 hours, and all of a sudden the court official comes out. Court, I'm not sure what his title was, but he said, "Mr. Humes." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You need to call your attorney." Oh, why? He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, you just need to call your attorney." I said, "Well, my phone's out in my truck. I didn't know if I could bring it." So I go out to my truck. I call Shane Cope up, and I said, "Shane, what's going on?" He said, "Here's the deal." I said, "Deal?" I said, "What? I didn't know I hired Monty Hall. What do you mean deal?" I mean, I'm sorry. I get
Yeah.
sarcastic
Oh,
when I
I
get,
do too. Oh,
I mean,
yes.
I said, "What do you mean deal?" He said they want 3 years and a permanent, meaning, I guess, the DA or whoever was fighting on her side.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I got him down to 6 months. I said, "What do you mean 6 months?" He said, "You can't have any contact with her in 6 months."
Mm-hmm.
Maryann, I literally had tears rolling down. I was so angry and
Ah,
hurt. It's just like you feel betrayed by the same system that you trusted all these years. Because I've never been in trouble with the law in any way. So I haven't even got a speeding ticket 37 years, 38 years. So I reluctantly agreed because he said we can go in there. They basically kind of worded like, "Hey, we're not denying you your rights, but we're just going to scare
yeah.
the Jesus out of you and make you do what we want you to do." And so I agreed. I said, "Okay, fine. I'll take 6 months." And when I left there, I never felt more empty in all my life. I mean, it was just like this can't be happening. This
Right.
can't. So I called my father. I mean, because he's always been my rock, which I lost him over a year ago. Miss
Mm,
him
I'm
much.
so sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Maryann. I mean, he's a great guy. He just right to the end. He was right there with me. So, um, and I talked to him, and he was beside himself because I think when you're a parent, you don't want to see any of your children go through any of this stuff.
Right.
Regardless of what it is. So after the shock wore off, like you kind of like I think kind of walk around in a daze for
Right.
some time. Then you
You're in
realize,
trauma.
okay, what do I have? Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I mean, because I walked in fully confident, like, hey, there's no evidence. I didn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I did was I started to keep track of the books because I could get on the POS system and see what kind of money was coming through there. That's what I researched because I wasn't familiar with the business, and it's kind of like, and I never was put in this position, so basically what I did was research, and it basically said kind of like you Google certain questions and see if you can come up with something. And what do you do if you feel your business partner is stealing from you? And they said, like document, document, document.
Hmm.
So, okay, okay. So fortunately, I had a friend named Debbie. She was a very, very nice person. I mean, so anyhow, just so happens that she could do books because now I don't have any money because like she's taken all the money and and I think I have to back up and say about it wasn't shortly after that I got summons to court for alimony. Now, it's like, wait a second here. I've paid her way for 2 years. She never wanted nothing. I paid her the insurance, the car, the gas, you name it. She didn't have to pay anything, everything, her phone. And so I called my attorney who represented me in a PFA, which, you know, and I said to him, I said, I'm being taken to domestic for alimony. He said, well, you can do that yourself. It's like, why
But
did
you
I
paid,
hire you?
yeah.
Why did I hire you if I have to do it myself? And I think as this is a learning experience, you can't do anything yourself with them. They want you
Yeah.
to have a lawyer. Now I know that you had, and like I said, I think we can all put out the evidence and have, but they don't want it. So I go
Mm-mm.
into domestic. At the time, I was working two jobs. I was working a FedEx freight driver, and I also worked as a jockey on the weekends at YRC. That's how I got the revenue to buy the bar.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's kind of where they got me because I was working so much, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh,
So
yeah.
until, the water started coming out of the dam, so to speak. So, uh, we go in, we had like a, Mr. Humes, oh, you made this amount of money. And then he asked me, he said, this YRC, what is that? I said, I work part time on the weekends.
Hmm.
Um, he said, well, do you get paid under the table? And I'm thinking to myself,
Hmm.
really? I just gave you a W-2, dude. Do
Yeah.
you think do you think if I get paid under the table, I get a W-2? What am I dealing with here? Right?
Oh, I'll tell you.
I said, we're in trouble, send out the red flags. But anyhow, long story short, they said you got to pay her $1,100, even though she got a settlement. There's a 17-part step in that. And I think this is critical for anybody listening to your podcasters.
Okay.
And they don't go by the 17 steps. They just go by, you make this amount of money, we're going to award her or him. I'm sure there's women out there that have had to pay. So I'm not going to, discriminate against a gender, but
Hmm.
so all right, but because I even told him I have all the marital bills. I'm paying for two homes. I have
Mm.
the expenses that go along with two homes, two electric bills, two this, two tax, two things of tax. I mean, anybody that knows that owns a home knows that there's a lot of expense there. Now I got to pay her $1,100.
And the thing is, you're not even divorced yet.
Yeah, right. That's what everybody said, but they called it temporary alimony. I don't know why it's
Oh,
temporary because
BS.
yeah, exactly. you know, because if it was
God.
temporary, why am I still paying it to this day as we sit here and speak for the last 4 years and can't even get into court? I can't take it to domestic relations because, I have to kind of go forward with that. I, okay, the lawyers don't want to do nothing. At least I got to try because I kept telling them, you got to get this alimony. This is killing me.
Right,
I mean,
right.
we're really down to like living on credit cards.
Hmm.
I mean, I got to eat.
Oh,
But I'm trying to pay people off pay people I owe money. I'm truly a person that believes in that. I don't really believe in sticking somebody. I mean,
right.
whether it's a financial institution, a buddy that lends you $50 in hard times, I truly believe in giving it back. So
Hmm.
so I go and I schedule a meeting, and it's a Zoom meeting, and I tell them because I'm sitting there trying to reason with them, like, hey, I have all the bills.
Ugh.
She has all this money coming in, and kind of to give your audience a show, what kind of money was coming in that bar? How about 35 to 42,000 a month?
Wow.
A month. Matter of fact, I can honestly say, because this is because they were hiding everything from me. I couldn't see anything. Even though I bought it, I couldn't see anything. So finally got a hold of the POS. The in 2021 it made $760,000 in revenue. That's $750,000.
Mm.
Where to go? Now, granted, you have to pay expenses, but trust me, you're not. I have a friend that's in the restaurant business, really good friend, and he told me, he said, you can take about 35 to 40% off, and that's probably what you will have in profit. Which I see none of it. I
Mm.
not to this day I have never seen a nickel from that business to this day. So anyhow, we keep Debbie and I, we started she did books for me. I didn't have any means of paying her because
Mm.
of money.
Right.
So basically what I did was, being that, she needed stuff done around her house, I painted,
Mhm.
cut trees down, whatever I could do.
Right.
We were really good friends, and she was so knowledgeable. And I really felt comfortable because I actually felt more with her because she just happened to have a background in doing books for bars and restaurants. So she knew the ins and outs of it.
Hmm.
So that kind of comes to where this other, to my story. So 6 months, can't have any contact. I can only look at the books. And so fast forward to like about April of 2021. My lawyer hasn't done anything. Not one court appearance, not one motion filed. And I told him, I said, Shane, I'll never forget this because I was sitting in the Weiss Market parking lot over here in Enola. And I said, Shane, tell her to put the building up for sale. I'm done.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
do this? I'm done. Maryann, he would not do it. He would not. He said, well, you're still part of. I said, Shane, what good does it do me at this point? I got put out. She's stealing as we're speaking right now.
Hmm.
Said, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, because one thing lawyers like do, they like, and I get, I'm, um, and I said to Shane, I said, look, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, write her a letter because I can't contact her and put it up for sale. He wouldn't do it. Just absolutely refused. He never said I'm not going to do it. He just did. That's how they work. They won't say it. They just don't do it.
Right. Oh, I
So
know
come
that
about
well.
April, I realized and yeah. So come about April, I realized he wasn't going to do anything, and this is probably where the frustration gets. And I've seen with a lot of your other guests on that, the frustrating because they refuse. They think that they're going to do what they want to do.
Hmm.
Now, if I if I have somebody come over and paint the house, they're not going to paint it the way they want it. They're going to paint it the way I want it. Now, granted, you don't ask them to do anything illegal or unethical,
Hmm.
okay? But this is what I want. This is okay. This is what I want. So he didn't. I fired him.
Right.
I
Right.
gave him 65. I gave him $6,500 up
Oh.
front. Nothing. Nothing. And I don't have the money, mind you. I mean, I'm scraping it up. I'm eating hot dogs and mac and cheese, and hoping that he does something because I'm telling him I'm sinking here.
Hmm.
So I hired another lady named Jennifer
Hmm.
Hable from Huntington. In the first meeting, go in, orientate her. I think there's another word for that. Um, so I tell her what the problem is. I said, look, she's robbing me blind. I can't get a. I need a divorce. I need to. Okay, and we brought the books in with her. I mean, to show her what was going on because the books were clearly showing theft. I mean, and we're talking thousands at this point, thousands. Goes higher as the days go on.
Right.
And so I said to Jennifer, I said, look, and she's saying, well, you got to sell it. I said,
Uh,
well, I just had the lawyers wouldn't sell it. She said, well, it's marital property. And I said, no, it's not. And she got angry with me. It's like we kind of butted heads. And she said, what do you mean it's not marital property? I said, I bought it after she filed for divorce. And in the state of Pennsylvania, the day she files for divorce, or if I file for divorce, I don't have anything I buy after that, as long as it's my own money, which I could prove
mhm.
that it was my own money. Um, um, it's not marital property. I own it. And she did not like that. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
um, because, so we showed her the books, and this is kind of where I got suspicious of how they realized we were doing books, because this is kind of where the story gets really crazy.
Uh-huh.
Because I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't have to tell anybody about Debbie. I basically just, hey, we did books. We sat back and that's the only thing I could do, because I couldn't you can't contact them in any way. You have to walk on eggshells,
Oh
because
yeah.
if they call or text you, you cannot respond. If you do, you violated the PFA and you're going to jail. And
Oh,
trust me,
yeah.
they'll try, that I think, before I go on with the story, I think that was the whole motive. I really feel like they were trying to throw me in jail. I
Mm-hmm.
really do.
Same.
I really think try to play the gotcha game with you, so you really had to think and be careful, and you really couldn't trust even your own attorney. So, um, kicking the can down, literally, like, okay, um, not getting into court, not moving forward, not trying to solve this issue at all. And I always suspected that the Bank United out of Miami Gardens, Florida, there was something wrong with that mortgage. I don't think it was right, because there was a lot of questions they did not want to share information with me, and they should, because I'm on the mortgage.
Right.
And I really got suspicious, because I kind of reached out to them after and said, look, this is going on. This is not going to be good for you or I. And they would not work with me. I'm telling them, look, she's going to run this place into the ground, take all the money, and you guys are going to be out. And so am I.
Mm-hmm.
Would not share any information with me. They acted, well, she's the one in charge. We're dealing with her. Really? So, yeah, that's what I said. And, to put it in perspective, and I think a lot of your guests know, like, if you and I owned a business, me and Maryann, I can't hide anything from you. You can't hide anything from me. That's how an LLC works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's to protect both people. Anybody, if you have four people in there, I don't care who's in charge. I mean, there's usually one person in charge, whether it's her. She cannot hide money. She cannot hide, what she's buying. She cannot hide this.
Mm-hmm.
And she did. And none of the lawyers would like step up and say, hey, this is wrong, and get it into court, because
Mm-hmm.
I spent 4 years begging them to get into court. I mean, you got drug into court. A lot of your guests get drug into court. I
Oh yeah.
can't get into court to get this solved,
I,
because they know the evidence, what it will show.
I
That's
think
why.
you're the first guest that has not been in court and is dealing
Yes.
with fraud
Mm-hmm.
and theft. And it makes you wonder, it's not who you know, it's who you BLOW.
Yeah. There might have been a lot of that going on, because I also think there was a lot of stacks of money getting passed around. I mean,
Right.
it's the only way to explain it, because we all know money runs everybody and everybody. Um, and obviously, they don't, because I think the reason why I couldn't get into court, this is my assumption, is the fact that my evidence would show the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually criminal, it's not just at this point civil, it's criminal.
It
I,
is.
I called, yeah, I called the DA, wouldn't talk to me. The DA out of Westmoreland County, Ray DePilka, would not talk. He did call me. And right away he goes on to spiel, well, we all know that bars, are cash. I said, yeah, it's my cash, dude. I
Yeah.
want you to, I want to file a complaint. Would not do it. So then I go to local police. Of course, I have a strong suspicion that they were involved. Like the whole area in there is corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are literally scared in Ligonier area. They are in Greensburg because it's like when you talk to somebody, they don't, it's, the first thing I want to say is, I don't want to get involved because
Oh.
these people will harass you. Whoever she got involved with, I do not know for a fact who she's involved with, but I know they're no good.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably people that can influence or pay off other people to get what they want. You know, whether it's through intimidation, whether it's through giving them money to keep their mouth shut. I don't know. So I go to local police, and that was just worthless. You know, I mean, it's almost like they make excuses, like, well, you know, she can do that. No, she
Oh.
can't. You know, yeah. I mean, it's so frustrating. And so through my time with dealing with local police, he always defended her.
Oh.
Like,
Red
yeah,
flag.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, I would call up and ask him for. I found out that for this one instance, I found out through Facebook. Somebody actually called me about it. Said, "Do you know there's a young boy that went missing out of your bar one night, and they had to call the cops?" And it's the bar was out in the middle of a lot. You know, there wasn't a lot around it. There was a couple of houses, you know, but it was kind of like a mountain type bar, you know, where
Mm.
but it had its aura about it, the air, and but it's also, if that would happen, very dangerous. It gets very cold
Right.
up there. It snows up there where it won't snow anywhere else. There's a pond that's in the adjoining neighbors. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that scared me. I mean, long story short, they found the boy. He was okay.
Oh.
He just happened, I guess, her parents turned her back, and he zipped out the door. And it's very dark, very dark. Um, so I asked Chief Mike Maternix. I said, "Hey, I need a police report for that incident that happened up the bar." And he denied it even happened. He said, "Well, that wasn't at your bar." I said, "Well, judging from the people that were actually in the bar, they said yes, it did happen." He would not give me that report. Not, and I'm supposed to own the place. Now I'm trying to have liability. Like, how can we keep this from happening again? Because, and also, I forgot to say, it's on a busy highway. It's on Route 30.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have got hit. I mean,
Right.
I mean, your heart sunk when you heard about it. But you were thinking, thank God he was found, okay, that it wasn't a tragedy, So,
Right.
um, and so I told him what was going on. I said, look, she put me out, and he literally could care less.
Ah.
So
Oh, until
he
it
did get
happens to him.
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, what you said earlier, it's not who he might be the receiver of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't there, but something was going on that he just absolutely would not cooperate with me. He wasn't. And so he went to the DA, and they basically said, "Look, your case is civil. We can't do anything about it." I said,
It
"Okay."
sounds criminal to
So
me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so far, and it even gets worse. I mean, so I hired Jen Habel, and I basically tell her what I need done. I said, "Look, I need this. I need to get in there. I need to see the books. I need to see what she's buying. I need because really, this is common sense too. It's not about me knowing it. It's also about taxes.
Right.
And come to find out, she never paid any taxes. None.
Hello,
She
IRS.
never filed federal taxes or nothing. Yeah. And what's crazy about it was I got like no phone calls, no nothing. And so I told Attorney Habel, I said, look, and she just kicked the can down the road. She had an excuse every day why. Well, they canceled this court. Well, they didn't want me to go to court. That's just flat out. They just were prolonging it. Maybe they were trying to get me upset because, see, one thing I have to tell your audience too, I really think the PFA was put there because now you have a narrative. He's mean, he's violent.
Right.
That's basically what they want to put out there. So they're trying to, I think the whole time I started to realize, I think they were trying to get me to act out, like even a verbal threat, like I'm going to hurt somebody. Let's just put it to you that nicely. Just something that they can come and get me.
Yeah.
I just felt that. I started, some of the dialogue that I had with my attorneys was very, I was starting to sense that, wow, they're not working for me. They're trying to, and so long story short with Miss Hable, the big thing with her was I kept telling her this mortgage, something is not right with it. They won't take it. It was another strange thing. They wouldn't take a payment, because I think this is important in my story,
Hmm.
because even though I got kicked out, I'm still responsible. So we
Oh.
had an ACH withdrawal payment for the first of every month, and the sum was like $3,190 a month. Okay, well, I checked the books because I get on the bank, the local bank, the business account, and realized they weren't taking any to take the mortgage out. So I called the bank up. I talked to Jackie Gurez in Florida. And Jackie's the one that got kind of like, you got suspicion that she wasn't on your side. Like
Oh.
you catch her in lies, and it's like, why do you got to lie to me? What are you hiding?
Hmm.
So I said to Jackie, I said, look, I you didn't take out your mortgage payment. And she goes, well, you qualify for COVID relief. And I said, Jackie, that's wonderful, but guess what? I don't want it.
Right.
And I said, we just made $42,000 last month. There's no reason why we need COVID relief. We got the
Right.
money to pay it. I'd like you to take it out. She would not do it. So she said, you qualify for 3 months of COVID relief, and it's being paid by the SBA. And it's kind of like, what? Are you know what? I stopped arguing with her, Maryann. I just said, fine, 3 months. So 3 months went by, looked in the bank account, still no mortgage taken out. So I called her back up and I said, Jackie,
Mm.
you need to take the mortgage out. Oh, I must have forgot.
How could you forget?
Exactly, because fortunately I have a good friend named Shelby I went to school with. She's worked at credit union with, and she's wonderful. We've been friends since high school. And I called Shelby up and I said, Shelby, I said, this doesn't make sense. She said, no, it does not.
Mm.
So she said, and by the way, she said, if you had COVID relief, you'd have to fill out documents per se, like, she said, you've had numerous loans through the years through us. And she
Mm.
said, when this comes about and you would say, hey, I can't make my truck payment or whatever payment it may be, you got to come in and fill out paperwork and say, well, okay, we'll give you 6 months. We'll just 6 months payments to the end of your loan, whatever you can agree to get you through the hard time.
Hmm.
So there's no paperwork. I told her, I said, well, who signed the paperwork? I didn't get any paperwork. So this went on for like 5 or 6 months that they didn't take a mortgage payment out, and then the strange thing was, um, I think they realized they had to do something because I was getting very suspicious of
Hmm.
why. I mean, usually if you don't make a payment within 2 weeks after a date, they're, sending you letters and saying, hey, did you forget something? And if you get too far behind, hey, you
Yeah.
know. So they took it out, but then it ended up back in the account. I don't understand that. Like, it's like, here's what I think they did, the bank. I
Okay.
think her and I signed. This is what I almost positive I can prove in court if somebody would investigate. They took my credit because her credit was terrible. I
Hmm.
mean, she couldn't, anything we had, I had to buy because, you know, she couldn't be on like the house I'm sitting in now. We were married, but they would say she can't be on a mortgage because her credit's terrible. We need to know that,
Mm.
it's going to get paid if something happens to you. So
Mhm.
now I'm starting to think, well, how did she get on a $328,000 business loan?
Oh.
They put her on there. They had to, because it almost started to think like things started to connect a little bit. Like, okay,
Uh,
Okay, so the bank put her on, but I believe what they did was they put everything back into my name and then locked it up so nobody could see it and didn't let me know about it. That's illegal.
Right.
You can't do it. You just because Jen Habel found out, and I had Debbie there with me because she's kind of the brain. She knows the. And Jen Habel comes in on the second meeting, and she kind of said to me, she said, "Hey, I got good news and I got bad news." I said, "Well, give me the good news first."
Mm.
She said, "You are the only one on the mortgage.
Well, thank God.
You own the building." Well, it sounds good, Maryann, but
Uh,
I mean, that should have been it. That should have
right.
been hey, Jen's a rock star now because she found out what I suspected. And oh, by the way, does anybody want to take this back to court? Because you know,
Oh my
they gave me a
God.
false mortgage. So
Ah,
we left there. I didn't. I was so excited because the bad news was that they pushed the court hearing back. That was always the case.
all
Always
right.
pushing the court hearing. You know, and they did have a court hearing, and this is where I caught Jen in a lie. Okay, we were sitting there. I was out. I run out to Ohio every day, and I had got to the place where I meet another driver from Louisville. That's what I do every day. Go out to Lower City, Ohio. So I got out of the truck, go get a cup of coffee. Phone rings. It's my attorney. I said, "Hey, hello. What's happening?" She said, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm in Ohio. Why?" She
Oh.
said, "Well, your court hearing was today." I said, "No, it wasn't. It's tomorrow." I believe she told me the wrong date on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
I couldn't get into court. Again, this is the kind of narrative we're dealing with here where they do not want Todd into court,
Right.
and, we don't want him to tell his side of the story because it might get somebody that might be listening saying, "Oh, wait a second, that doesn't sound right." So I said, "Jen, no, it wasn't. I specifically knew it was on October 13th. Today's the 12th. No, it's today. Well, maybe I can get the judge to get you on like we're doing now, like a
Right.
conference call." All right, fine. So she gets me on, and it was strange because I've never had bad service there, like lose calls or whatever, internet, whatever. They kept fading in and out like I was getting muted.
Mm.
And it
Oh
was
yeah.
like,
That's a common
yeah,
tactic.
okay, yeah, it's like law school 101, we don't want
Yeah.
to know, so we'll mute it. So it lasted 15 minutes. I never said nothing. She never said nothing. And I really don't even today understand what went on. So um, later after that week, I called Jennifer and I said, "Jen, I need that documents that you discovered." And she said, "Well, what are you going to do with them?" I said, "Well, I'm going to kick them out.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
own the building. I mean, I I'm going. They're out. Every one of them. Everyone is because they were all involved with it. Everybody that worked there was getting their $24 an hour plus tips. I mean, it was crazy how they ripped me off. So, and I said, basically, my plan was get no trespassing orders because of the buildings in my name,
Right.
pull them all outside and say no trespassing, get off my property and your personal belongings, make arrangements. I'll have them outside.
Right.
When I told her that, she said, "Can you wait till the court hearing?" And the court hearing I just said. So I said, "Well, yeah, I can wait." It was like 5 days. Well,
Mm-hmm.
then as stories went on, we had the court hearing and it got muted in and out. And she called me after the court hearing and she said, "You need to get a business attorney." I said, "Well, I'm already on it. I hired one." I mean, that's what his title was anyhow. But
Right.
anyhow, so,
Yeah.
so, we, I think time went on and again, I was pressing her about what she had found
Mm-hmm.
because there was some weird stuff starting to come up on my credit report, that Debbie was finding. And she
Mm.
also found a title with just my name on it, just my name. And then that disappeared off the internet. Like, it's just, she found it one day and could not find it ever again. So I said to her, I'll never forget. I was on 470 going around Wheeling, and I called her up. I have a headset on, so everybody, I'm safe with that. But, and I said, Jen, I need them documents. I never said that. I said, what? I said, you're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I was sitting right there. Debbie was sitting right there. She even asked you to repeat it. And you said I was the only one. No, I never said that. You can imagine it's like, what my feelings are going through. And it's like, and you know how, like, if you're talking to somebody on the phone where you're kind of like, somebody's got caught in a lie and they're trying to catch themselves from falling off the lying tree and before they hit the ground. And she said, I told you you were the only one on the house in Huntington in 2006. I said, I knew that because I bought it by myself. If I was single at the time,
Yeah.
I, I said, no. So she got fired promptly for lying to me. I
Mm.
mean, how can you trust an attorney? How can you trust anybody when they lie to you?
Oh.
So I hired this Tim Leonard from Greensburg, and he okay. I told him basically it's the same story of what you and your audience was getting,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, okay. I said, well, what we got to do first? He said, well, first we got to send a demand letter. So okay, send a demand letter. So he sends a demand letter saying we demand all the documents and all this, all that. It's served to her, and nothing. 30 days, no response. So I said, well, time for us to go to court. Well, we need to send her another demand letter. I said,
For what?
really? Yeah, exactly. It's like, are you serious? I mean, how do you think that's going to go for us? And in the meantime, again, I'm suffering here. I'm barely making it, if not making it, because I think when you start have to resort to credit cards to survive, you are underwater. And that's where I'm at right now with paying everything. And she's still pulling out the money, just money's going in different accounts. Nobody knows where it's going. And you have a lot of revenue coming in, I have to say. It's not just like, when you own a bar, obviously everybody knows it's your alcohol that makes you the most money, but, your the sandwiches and everything was doing good. But she also had skills machines in there. And I think that was a very key part because I don't know how to apply them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a gambler, but I
Right.
think everybody is watching your podcast. When you walk into a convenience store, just about anywhere anymore, you run right into them, and
Mm-hmm.
people get addicted to them. It's just like any other form of like gambling, and there's a lot of money that comes through them. And I don't think that's getting reported to the IRS. I think that was part of the deal, kind of, because the liquor attorney that I never even met
Mm-hmm.
that was dealt with, I paid him $8,000 to transfer the liquor license. He had gotten caught in a scam out in Pittsburgh area where he was basically selling illegal skills machines, that I guess weren't registered. I'm not even so sure who regulates them, like whether it's the gaming
Right.
commission or what have you. So there was four of them in there. I've never seen any documents, and of any kind. I had called this guy up, DeLeo out of Altoona Gaming, and I said, "Hey, I need I need documentation to what money's coming in and
Mm-hmm.
out of them skills machines. And them skills machines, you can't lie because
Mm-hmm.
they have a receipt. Basically, like say you come in and you hit $200.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you bring it over to me. I'd get to see. I give you $200. I keep that ticket, and every night I would do a printout of all the money that goes in and out of that machine
Mm-hmm.
and put it in a stack for tax purposes. Okay, but I couldn't do that because I got kicked out. So I doubt that there's any receipts for 2 years that was open. I doubt it. I think that's just all money in somebody's pocket, except for mine.
Mm-hmm.
So, so still the PFA is rolling 6 months, and I'm just like spending every weekend. Debbie and I are just, doing books. We're doing what we can do legally. And next thing you know, uh, I think the 6 months came to an end. This is kind of important in my story. So, being that I have a lot of firearms, um, I was worried because some of them people had the combination to my safe. Okay.
Oh.
So, Nicole was her name, very nice lady. She told me, she said, Todd, you were doing court today. I said, no, it wasn't. She
Mhm.
said, they would get information saying, hey, you got to hold his guns. They filed a last minute complaint, last minute. And my lawyer, and this is where I caught him stealing or lying, not stealing, lying to me.
Mhm.
I called Shane up. It's like, Shane, what is going on? Well, we just got it and we didn't know about it. And it's like, how could you not know about it? I mean, this is just crazy. And
Right.
so anyhow, I was like flabbergasted. Like, so what they did was they went for like 2 months on an investigation. They have to investigate because she claims she found a gun in my home. Now, out there for your audience, what is she doing in my home?
Yeah, when there's a PFA on.
Okay, here here's here's what they said. They basically said that um they basically said that you or um we have to investigate this complaint. She
Mhm.
said she found a shotgun in your house. So, and I knew they were because I think in June they were in my house and they took my bow and crossbows.
Mhm.
But see, I asked the sheriff if he needed them. He said no. By
Mhm.
law, anything with a firing pin. Okay. So I just kept them, Obviously,
Right.
if I was going to do her in, I was going to, I mean, it's just crazy. So I get to state police, and this is where the state police comes involved. And like I said, I'm not bashing. I know there's a lot of good people out there on both sides of the
Mhm.
law and on the law enforcement, but boy, you get a couple in there that kind of violate your just don't want to listen to you. How's that?
Right. Right.
So I get a call. I'm going back out to Ohio, and I get this call from the state police, and they said, "Mr. Humes, yeah." I said, we need to investigate this, that you had a firearm because I knew I handed them. I double checked, triple checked.
Oh yeah, you're
I mean,
honest.
they're all in a safe. I mean, they're all in a safe, locked up, you know. Um, so what I did was I'm kind of annoyed at this point, and I just basically said to him, I said, look, I'll investigate, but I'm not losing one more day work because at this point I can't afford it.
Oh.
So basically I said, you're going to do it on my time. Okay. He said, when can you come in? I said, Saturday. He said, 3 o'clock. I said, yes. So I worked that morning at YRC, went up, and I went in, and they showed me a picture of a gun. This is kind of what's crazy. Like this whole story of mine, just nuts. So they showed me a picture. Now, for people out there that um, maybe know guns or maybe to educate your audience, this gun in question was a model 97 Winchester shotgun, very old.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, if I was going to save a gun to do somebody harm, it wasn't going to be that one.
Right.
Matter of fact,
Right.
I had never shot it. I had bought it off a friend. I didn't really want it, but he was falling on hard times. So anyhow, takes me back and he said, well, first of all, I have to put this in there because I thought this was strange. He said, have you ever been arrested? I'm thinking, you already know that. I'm thinking, you should. I just answered him, no, no,
Right.
never been arrested. So he shows me this picture of a gun, and you could tell like the background of it was like they were concealing the background of when they took the picture. Like there were sheets around that you couldn't see the background. Like, was it taken in my house or was it taken at the sheriff's department? We don't know.
Hmm.
So I looked at it and looked at it real tight. I said, no, it wasn't my gun. And he said, how do you know? I said, well, this gun's in a lot better shape. That gun had a lot of wear on it. It was a
Hmm.
very old gun. And he said, okay. So he basically, now they don't like to give you information. like, and I get it. But I said, look, why is she coming to my house? She swore in a court of law that she's scared to death of me, but yet
Mm-hmm.
she's trying, and this is why I say, going back to the fact is this, she was trying to get me arrested because the sheriff said she called down there when she claimed she found this gun and screamed bloody. Yeah, I found a gun. I want him arrested. And so it's like, and the sheriff, for the one time out of the 5 years, very few people have been stuck up for me that were on that side, whether it's law enforcement or lawyers. He said, well, what are you doing in his house? Well, it's my house.
Thank
So you
you.
said, no, I know him because he comes down and gets a carrying permit. He had that house before you, so that would not be marital property under the law because it was premarital property. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I told Trooper Bourne, I said, no, it's not my gun. And he said, okay. He said, well, I have to run a past Diaz. All right. He said, I said, why could she come up to my house? And he said, well, it's on you, not her. I said, well, don't you want to keep the peace? What good is it for her to be able to come up to my house, steal my stuff, plant stuff to try to get me arrested? Because I
Right.
basically, this is what this was about. Like, because this was right at the end of the PFA too, by the way. She was thinking, they were probably thinking in their minds, whoever they were. I mean, I have my thoughts about that nobody in their right mind is going to be able to take this. See, we just took a business away from him. We're stealing from him. He's going to break that PFA. And I did. It's all about being mentally tough
Right.
and doing the right thing, even though it does hurt. It did hurt. I mean, I got slandered on Facebook, that I was a wife beater. And I mean, you just had to just not answer. Matter of fact, I got off Facebook altogether. I just said, you know what,
Right.
forget this. I'm off. I mean, and your good friends know. I mean, but it really it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Lies hurt. I mean, especially some of these people. Like I said to my other friends, I said, this really hurts because I said some of these people have stayed at my home, have ate at
Mm.
my table, and don't get me wrong, I will have anybody. I was born and raised to, I think anybody with a good heart, yes, please stay here. Yeah, do you want anything to eat? That's the way my father was,
Right.
so, and my father was a school teacher for 40 years, so
Right.
he knew a lot of kids.
Give you the shirt off your back. And this is
Yeah,
how people treat you.
it's the way. Yeah, that's probably the biggest part of the story where you're doing all this stuff. You're a nice guy. You're to a fault.
To a fault. It's true.
Yeah, to a fault because literally people come up out of town. Hey, Todd, yeah, come on over. I got an extra bedroom, no problem. Yeah, you want something to eat? Help yourself. You need keys to the car? There you go. No, that's the way I
Right.
am. And these are the same people that were slandering me on Facebook. And I'm
Right.
like,
It's
wow.
like when you're honest to a fault, you're a kind person. These are the people that they trample on in the court system. That's what I've learned.
Exactly. Exactly. But, um, it just like, I was like, wow, this is just nuts. And, I even had a friend of mine, Scarlett, call me up, and Scarlett had passed away, but we had went to a little reunion get together from the class of 85. And she called me up next day. She said, Todd, they are saying all kinds of nasty stuff about you. And in the corner, like, while I'm still there. And it's like, she said, I don't like this. That's not fair. And I said, Scarlett, look, I can't help what they say about me. You know what? I can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. But you know what? My true friends will always know who I am. So we go back to court um, for this alleged gun, possession of a gun while under PFA, which is, would have threw me right in jail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, um, anyhow, um, we go into court. My
Right.
lawyer doesn't show up. So, yeah, and you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, like, you got to be kidding me. So whatever, So at this point, I'm numb to this. It's just like it's just one disappointment after the other.
Oh,
He doesn't show up. He had to have got the notice. He didn't call me. So we go into court. Judge Walsh from Westmoreland County Court. Very nice guy.
Hmm.
I sat down. They sat down. She had a lawyer with her. Her lawyer was Karen Muir. And they just got up, and of course, the judge had to ask him, "Well, what did they find out? Like, would they? Well, the DA didn't want to press charges. So anyhow, so he over to me, said, "Mr. Humes, what's what's your position on this?" And I said, "Well, Your Honor, it's like this. There's no evidence.
Right.
There's no. Where's the police reports? Where's the pictures? Where's the maybe a news article? Where's anything to prove that I have ever abused her in any way?"
Hmm.
Common sense. I mean, yeah, I didn't need my lawyer there. It would have been nice, I think, because he did ask me, "Where's your attorney?" And he's, "I don't know."
This is
And he
terrible.
gets me, yeah, yeah. I mean, it is because you pay all that money. You pay a lot of
Right.
money, and I don't begrudge them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not. I don't. I hate the lawyer bash. I know they go through a lot of schooling, and I'm sure there's a lot of ones out there that are very good at what they do.
Hmm.
But when you get the ones that don't want to represent you properly, that's so. Long story short, they went back there. So he said, "Look, I can't hold Mr. Hims to this PFA. There is no evidence he's correct." So he dismissed it. Great. It's out the door I went. I went out of there like the place was on fire. I mean, I didn't want nothing to do. Just get away from her, go and get out of there. Now, see, this is a key point to my story because they probably thought that now that the PFA is dismissed,
Hmm.
he's going to come back here and he's going to be angry. Then go back. Well, what's the sense of it at this point? What's the sense of going back? You're not going to find nothing out. So just stay away. Try to do it legally. That's the whole key. Try to get this done legally. To go back, he's just going to, as you can see, it's so easy to get a PFA on somebody in
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
oh, they
So in
hand
the
them out like
meantime,
candy.
yeah, and it's like I said to the judge. I said we all understand. I mean, spousal abuse is a very serious issue. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I was raised, you don't hit a lady. You
Hmm.
don't, I mean, you, you could put her in front of me now after everything she's done for me. And I can guarantee you, if you said you got one free shot, I couldn't do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
My dad raised me a certain way. I mean, would I like to see her punished? Yes, but I want to see her punished by the law, not
Right.
by me. So I just leave. I just go back to my house in Huntington. I do a couple things and I come back down and go to work. So that's when the harassment started. This is what's kind of the crazy part of my story because Debbie started to get letters from anonymous letters from her. They were trying to pull her away because they realized what she was doing was helping me.
And finding things out.
Yes. And they didn't want that because, I mean, what I think by now, I think your audience could figure out this is criminal. This is
Hmm.
there's a lot of crime going on here and nobody's helping him, the state police. So I go into Huntington County Court and I ask them, and this is where, like I said, where the corruption is. So I fill out the paperwork for PFA to keep her away from me.
Hmm.
So then they do this very quick. I mean, I get it. I mean, in some certain situations, it's life threatening, but fill it out. And I basically, my reason for it was she keeps bothering me. She's trying to frame me. She's trying to throw me in jail. I went in front of Judge Kirch, and Judge Kirch said, I can't issue this. I can't sign this. I said, Your Honor, why? Well, just lock your windows, lock your doors. I said, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. I mean, this is the type of harassment I endured would have probably sent most people over the edge. I mean, we're talking they would steal your stuff, they would break stuff, they would anything to try to get you to violate that PFA. That is what I dealt with the whole time. Like, you know, we're going to make you violate this PFA. That's just my
Hmm.
feeling right now that was their whole game plan. Like, put him in jail, and then we can keep stealing. He wouldn't sign it. Okay, what do you
Yeah.
do? And then I found out that they hacked my computer because they wanted to know who I was talking to. I mean, this, and I kid you not, because uh, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I started having emails deleted. I started having,
Mhm.
they were being able to read my text messages. Just like one time, somebody wanted to go up hunting up in Huntington, and I said, "Yeah, do you need keys to the four wheeler?" Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'll put them underneath the mat. They were gone. She told Debbie she was following me. She told Debbie that because she would call her. Debbie had to get a peace order put against her to not contact her. She violated it all the time, and they never arrested her. She would call her over and over in the middle of the night. And it wasn't because she was madly in love with me, and
Right.
she wanted. She knew that Debbie was helping me put her in jail.
Hmm.
Them numbers were going to should have thrown her in jail if we could ever got to court. So
Oh.
she kept getting letters. Her friends got letters. She was harassing her with. Then it got to be phone calls. It got to be, and then I got to thinking to myself, well, did they? How did they know about that? I never told them about her. I mean, we
Hmm.
were separated for 2 years at that point. The only thing I could come up with, either my lawyer, Jen Habel, or Shane Cope, told the other side, "Hey, he's doing books. It's going to screw you.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
going to do. It's going to do you in if you go to court because he has the evidence that you're stealing." So she gets harassed. I mean, I felt bad because it's like, I'd be down there. Maybe we'd go out to eat. And I'd do some things around. She was doing these books. I mean, she was, for night and day. We were doing books. I mean, and her books were to the T. I mean, just like to every penny, what was going in and out of that bar.
Right.
And then she starts getting harassed. She had to have a peace order put on her. So,
Oh.
but she didn't follow it. She basically just was kind of like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And that makes me think that she knew she had, cover with the lawyers and law enforcement because law enforcement would never hear my story. You are the first person in 5 years or that actually
Mm-hmm.
had let me sit down and tell the story,
Mm-hmm.
which I appreciate because I really hope that somebody somewhere can help me um, get justice. That's all I want. It's just, I don't think anybody wants more than justice of what they deserve under the Constitution.
I
You
agree.
know, yeah. I mean, we all pay taxes. We all pay by the law. We're all supposed to trust the justice system, and unfortunately, your podcast exposes how corrupt this is. And every person that's been on your show has had their rights violated.
Hmm.
It's just common sense that you have a right. Even the lawyers will try to steer you in that direction. But guess what? It's your decision. Your podcast is a blessing to me because hopefully somebody will be out there to help. Because literally, I'm making it. I'm working
Yeah.
extra. I'm working 6 days a
But
week, 70
this
hours a week,
should be
and
happening. This should not be
yeah,
happening to you. They should just grant the divorce and cut the ties and
yeah,
everybody go their ways. And if there's anyone out there that can help Todd Humes get through this, how can they reach
yeah.
you if they have any questions or if there
They
is
can reach
someone
you.
out
They can reach you by if you would take any emails or calls or whatever, and they could also reach me at my email. thumes42@gmail.com.
there? Okay, I'll put that in the podcast notes as well. And we'll have to do a follow-up and see how you're doing, when you're
Yeah, thank
ready,
you.
you know?
Yeah.
But hey, don't jump off. Slam the
Okay.
Gavel podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Todd Humes. And I'm very sorry you're going through this.
Thank you. Thanks.